does a star really look like when she's trying not to be seen? On April 7, 2026, in the bustling city of Guangzhou, the answer quietly revealed itself. Not through flashing lights or grand entrances, but through something far more disarming simplicity. And at the center of it all was Zhao Jinmai. There was no dramatic announcement, no elaborate styling meant to command attention, just a white SUV pulling up, almost blending into the everyday rhythm of the street. And then she stepped out, dressed in casual clothing, a cap pulled low, a face mask covering half her features. Zhao Jinmai looked almost like anyone else. And yet, the moment she appeared, the air shifted. Because even in her quietest form, she carried something unmistakable, a presence that didn't demand attention, but naturally drew it in. Her movements were unhurried, calm. She reached for her belongings with a kind of effortless grace, as if unaware of the dozens, maybe hundreds, of eyes already fixed on her. There was no performance in the way she walked, no exaggerated gestures, just a quiet composure that felt real. But then, as she began making her way toward the venue, the world around her responded. Fans who had been waiting, some for hours, started calling her name, soft at first, then louder, more urgent, the kind of excitement that builds not from spectacle, but from genuine affection. And this is where something shifted, because Zhao Jinmai didn't just walk past. She slowed down, she looked, she acknowledged, a small wave, simple, almost shy, then another, and another, each one deliberate, each one carrying a quiet warmth that reached far beyond the gesture itself. She accepted letters, small gifts, tokens that fans had prepared with care. And every time she did, she lowered her head slightly, a subtle bow, a silent thank you that felt deeply sincere. It wasn't a grand interaction. It wasn't staged. But for those standing there, it meant everything. Moments like these don't last long. A few seconds, maybe, but somehow they stay. They settle into memory, into feeling. And for many fans that day, those fleeting exchanges became something unforgettable. Then came the video. A handheld clip, slightly shaky, far from perfect. The kind of footage that wouldn't normally stand out, but this one did, because it captured something rare. In the video, Zhao Jinmai pauses between steps. She leans in slightly to receive a gift. She bows her head again. There's no rush in her actions, even though the environment around her is buzzing with energy. And maybe that's what made it so powerful. It wasn't polished. It wasn't curated. It was real. In an industry where appearances are often carefully controlled, moments like this feel different. They reveal something unfiltered. And in her case, what they revealed was a kind of grounded kindness, an ease in connecting with people that didn't feel practiced or rehearsed. It's easy to greet fans, but it's much harder to make those greetings feel personal. And yet, she did. There's a subtle difference between obligation and intention, between doing something because it's expected and doing it because it matters. And somehow, Zhao Jinmai exists in that space where the line disappears entirely. Her gestures didn't feel like part of routine. They felt like an extension of who she is. And maybe that's why people remember them. But the story of that day didn't end there, because later, in a completely different setting, she revealed another side of herself. Quieter, softer, almost introspective. On Weibo, she shared a series of photos under the title Chapter 1 of April, Hello Spring. And suddenly, the energy shifted again. Gone was the bustling crowd, the noise, the movement. In its place, stillness. In these photos, Zhao Jinmai appeared with short bob haircut, fresh light, almost symbolic of a new beginning. She wore a cropped gray turtleneck, simple yet effortlessly elegant. The background was washed in soft pink tones, creating a dreamlike atmosphere that felt gentle and calm. But what stood out the most wasn't the styling, it was the feeling. Her expressions were relaxed, unforced. There was no distance between her and the camera, no barrier. It felt less like a photo shoot and more like a quiet moment she chose to share. As if, for a second, the world slowed down and she let us in. There's something deeply comforting about images that don't try too hard. And these didn't. They didn't shout for attention. They didn't overwhelm. They simply existed, and that was enough. It didn't take long for the photos to spread. Fan communities picked them up almost instantly. Social media filled with reposts, comments, reactions. Words like fresh, gentle, and comforting appeared again and again, echoing a shared feeling that was hard to put into anything more complicated. Some fans even said the photos made them feel calm. And maybe that says more than anything else. Because in a world that moves so fast, where everything feels loud and urgent, being able to create a moment of quiet connection, that's rare. What makes it even more meaningful is the consistency. The girl who paused to bow her head while receiving a fan's letter is the same person who shared those soft, reflective photos online. No contrast, no contradiction, just continuity. Her offline presence and her online persona don't feel like two separate identities. They feel like different expressions of the same truth. Approachable, sincere, and quietly engaging. And that's not easy to maintain, especially in an industry where the pressure to perform, to stand out, to constantly evolve can sometimes blur authenticity. But Zhao Jinmai doesn't seem to chase attention. She lets it come to her. And when it does, she meets it with calm, with grace, with a kind of quiet strength that doesn't need to prove anything. As her career continues to grow, there's a natural anticipation surrounding what she'll do next. New roles, new challenges, new versions of herself on screen. But somehow it's these smaller moments, the ones that happen in between, that leave the deepest impression. A wave, a bow, a soft smile behind a mask, a photo that feels like a breath of fresh air. These are the things that build connection, not in loud, overwhelming ways, but slowly, gently, and meaningfully. And maybe that's her greatest strength, not just her talent, but the way she carries it. So now I want to ask you, when you think about Zhao Jinmai, what stands out to you the most? Is it her natural charm, her quiet sincerity, or the way she makes even the simplest moments feel unforgettable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more moments like this. Because sometimes the softest stories are the ones we remember the longest.